You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about sharing what we love with each other. I'm Frankie.
And I am Matt, aka Stormageddon.
Andromeda is saved, but there's still a bit to do. We visit with Drac and Kesh, return to Habitat 7 for a surprise, and choose someone to represent all of Andromeda.
This is it, folks. We've made it. This is the final episode of Season 4, more or less. More on that in a bit.
Looks like we made it.
You may notice that Frankie's audio quality is a little different, and not the same, a little different from a few weeks back when we used the wrong microphone. Frankie is in transit visiting the States, joining us back here in the U.S. for a bit, and so we are recording via Zoom, but we wanted to make sure we got this episode done so we could transition smoothly to Season 5, which we are also going to talk about a little later. But I wanted to give that heads up instead of doing the whole producer intro thing. Just speak the truth in the episode, since we know the audio is going to be a little different.
Yeah, as much as I love this show, I was not going to carry my Blue Yeti all the way back to the States for just 2 weeks.
No, it's not worth it. And like, we were originally going to try and do it in person, but the reality is my apartment's not quite set up for in-person recording yet. And also just scheduling, it was a lot. And I wanted to make sure that we got this done more so we could keep the wrap up of this season rolling, so we could better prep for Season 5, which we are definitely doing. Don't worry.
Also, if you try to come here, the cats would kill you.
That is also true, which is why I didn't even entertain the thought of coming to you in New Jersey instead, because I can survive there for about 2 hours and then I need to leave. But we are here to talk about the epilogue of the game, as well as our epilogue on the season. We're going to talk about the last few story bits of stuff that you do post-game, as well as our final thoughts on the game itself, and announce what we were doing for Season 5. To start with the deep dive, I just wanted to talk really quickly, because they've been integral to the whole game, is the emails that you get from crewmates and the message board. When you are done talking to your prospective sibling, you can look at your email hub, and you have, I didn't count them, but it feels like 30, 40, 50, and then eventually trails off saying they're still loading, of thank you emails of all shapes and sizes from the people on the Ark, the people of the Hyperion who are awake and out of cryo now, all individually thanking you for saving them and saving this new galaxy that they can live in. And I thought that was pretty cool. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, I really like the emails. It doesn't really add anything actionable necessarily. Like, sometimes you get an email that's like, oh, I have to acknowledge that I got this email because it's a mission. But really, it just adds flavor. It adds an element of reality and humanity to your experience, because, you know, people send messages all the time. People send you their silly thoughts. People send you their dumb poetry like Gil does. Like, it's a nice touch.
Yeah, I agree. And the only thing with these emails specifically that everyone coming out of cryo is emailing you to thank you is like, where did that administrative task go wrong? Like, who gave them Ryder's email? Who's the idiot who said, oh, you want to thank Ryder? Here's his personal email. Or did they just like post it somewhere in the Nexus, like, email Ryder here? Like, it's effectively like emailing a president or the CEO of something. Like, Pathfinder's kind of a big deal. He's very approachable, but like, that's a lot of emails. And the fact that after you read however many of them, the bottom email is not even an email. It's just a system message saying more loading, which I don't think any actually do load. They just want to show you that it's not just 30 people who woke up out of cryo thanking you. It's literally everyone who's ever lived is thanking you. Ridiculous.
It's very sweet.
It is. And it shows to the humanity of Ryder, who is a character who, as we've said all season, is more down to earth, feels more approachable than Shepard did. And this kind of adds to that oeuvre, as it were. After I read...
Oh, it's a big word.
Yeah, you know.
That's a $10 word.
You're welcome. I'm here to help. Really pulling out all the stops for this final episode. But after we're done reading emails and talking to our Ryder sibling, we leave...
Our ride or die.
As soon as the door opens and I see the Council of Jackasses, although I love most of them, I immediately just write in my notes, oh no, bureaucracy.
The real enemy of Andromeda.
I was like, what do they want? And so, yeah, you're approached by the effective council of this, of the Nexus, the people who have been running the show, to help you elect a possible future council, but for sure, at least recommend a representative to represent Andromeda until they can form a proper council or governing system. Like they wanted one person to be put forward by the Pathfinder to kind of represent the hopes and dreams of this new world.
Our options are Pathfinder Hager,
Mm-hmm.
the Moshai,
Yep.
August Bradley,
Yep.
and Morda.
Yeah. What I like here is that they give you multiple options and you can actually check on all of them, like have a conversation about all of them. And when you pick Morda, Kess just laughs.
Yeah.
Doesn't say anything. And then Tan is like, "Are you crazy?"
Tan is just like, please don't do that to me.
It's very funny. I love like that Kesh reaction is very Krogan. Like I feel like that happens all the time where people ask a Krogan something and they just laugh at you. But there's no right answer here, but according to the game anyway. Like you can get everyone's opinion and pick whoever you want, but there is no like they're not pushing you towards something. They are all connected to an emotion like the radial menu has. But there's still no right answer there. It's just kind of the emotion driving those choices.
It's similar to the decision between Captain Datterson and Ambassador Udina.
Yep.
As of Mass Effect 1, we didn't know what the outcome was going to be.
Right, and by Mass Effect 3, it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah. So in this moment, it doesn't super matter because we don't know what the outcome's going to be.
Right. No DLC, and we have no idea what the future holds for Mass Effect 5. So, yeah. I listened to all the options and thought about it for a while because, look, I didn't think I was going to pick the Pathfinder, but I almost picked Morda, but I ended up going with the Moshai. It just felt like the right choice, and because while the Moshai annoyed me early on, I feel like my writer at least bonded with her quite a bit. She's shown strong leadership in the face of danger. She seems to have everyone's best interest at heart, more or less. And so she felt like the right choice for me, especially since we are essentially visitors trying to colonize this world that they live in, that she would be a good representation for everyone because we've had a history and she understands, I think, us and what we would need to survive.
That is a solid answer.
Yeah. Who'd you choose?
I chose Morda because I choose violence.
That's fair. I had a feeling.
I choose to upset the status quo.
Yeah.
I didn't want Hager because I don't think it should be a Pathfinder. Like, the Pathfinder already has a job. The Pathfinder doesn't also need to be an ambassador.
Agreed.
The Moshai is going to be more interested in the Angara.
Mm-hmm.
And I think August Bradley would have been a good choice. But also Morda is an excellent ally and someone who you really need to keep happy.
Yeah.
Because if the Krogan leave at any point, we're fucked. So I would rather give Morda this position as a like token of friendship and allyship and like, see, we really need you and you need to have some power in this galaxy.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the main reason I choose August Bradley is it just felt very Mass Effect trilogy, like picking the human to lead all of these different alien races. Just felt also very more colonist and colonialist than anything else. Even though like August Bradley actually is seemingly genuinely a good person and a good leader, it just it rang of all that stuff. And I didn't pick Pathfinder Hager mostly because that's what Tan wanted, and anything Tan wants, I do not.
Yeah, fuck Tan. Like, Tan had ulterior motives for wanting Hager. He wanted to, quote, keep it in the family, but also you wanted it to be a Solarian.
Right, correct.
Like, he has political motives, which, everybody does. But I still maintain that Morda is the choice that is not an easy choice.
Right.
She is someone that everyone's going to have to work to get along with.
Yeah.
And yes, she's going to be interested in Krogan interests, but she's also not going to prioritize Nexus interests.
Right.
So I think that's a really important thing.
Yeah, and I think that was also part of why I chose the Moshai. She was obviously the emotional choice because she is the most sympathetic character. She is very like motherly in her way. That's always been her thing. Also, again, probably won't choose the Nexus first. We'll be sympathetic to the Nexus more than Morta, but we'll still probably think of the Angaran people first. And I thought that was important, is to have someone who's rooted here, who is not human, who is not on the Nexus, to help guide. And so a similar thought there, but on the less chaotic side.
I thrive on chaos.
Yeah, I know. I do like here after we choose that and like Addison essentially tells Tan to go fuck themselves. Addison shares a genuine moment with you of like relief and kindness. And like, I kind of have really liked her character arc. She's easy to hate in the beginning of the game, but she really does come around to understand you in the role that you're playing and respect you, which, you know, is not something that ever happens with Tan. He's always trying to use you or use the system. And I like that. I like that towards by the very end of this game, Addison actually becomes a more sympathetic character who cares for you. I mean, you start to see it when we take out Spender also, but like, I like that evolution of this character. You don't always get to see that here. Like, Kesha's pretty much consistent throughout, but Addison gets to evolve a bit, and I like that. And this like kind of wrap up here kind of cements it.
I thought it was really nice that she asked after your sibling.
Yep, that too.
Like, whenever somebody's like, how's your sibling doing? I'm like, thank you for acknowledging that my sibling has been through a trauma, and so have I.
Yeah.
Like, everything is fucked up forever. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah. I can't remember where it is. I think it's somewhere in the check-ins, but someone says, oh no, does anyone realize that there's going to be a second writer on board now? Like, it's just very funny. Like,
I think that was Cora.
I think it was Cora. It's like, oh no, there's two of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so after we choose the ambassador, or we recommend the ambassador, because again, no resolution. We have no idea what happens. There was an Addison line that I really liked. When you choose your pick, Addison at the end goes, "That's the point, you colonial wad," which is totally sticking it to Tan. It's just such a fun moment. But yeah, so after we choose our ambassador, we now get to talk to our entire crew who's hanging out as well, one by one, kind of getting a little wrap up of their thoughts on what's been going on and what's happened in reaching the Meridian.
Yeah. We get to do some party check-ins. Woo woo. My first check-in was with Callow.
Same, because he's kind of right outside the door.
Yeah, I love Callow. This is a really cute moment. He's letting the Tempest get some much-needed service, and he talks about how much he learned from Ryder and from Gil. He's such a good friend, and he also shows off this fan art that someone made of him wearing. Oh wait, no, we got an email about that.
Yeah.
We get this email from him about fan art someone made of him wearing aviator goggles and an aviator scarf, and I love it.
It's very cute. Yeah.
It's so adorable. Everything about Callow is cute.
Correct. I love that this is just a genuine moment of appreciation. He thanks you. He, you ask if he's going to trade in his pilot's chair for some boots, and he's like, no, absolutely not. That's your job. I will stay in the cockpit where I belong.
Let's see. Going around, I had PB next.
Yep.
Who is totally fidgety and wants to leave already.
Yeah, she's hanging out right next to a group of dancers who are dancing for whatever reason.
Did you dance?
I did dance. It was very cheesy.
Yeah, it was the Shepherd dance.
Yeah. A little nod to Shepherd. Apparently all humans dance like Shepherd.
Amazing.
But yeah, PB's antsy and excited to get back out there. But then there's a moment where, like, you talk about how the future of the colony, all that, and she's like, "Oh, you should take a moment to take things in, take a break." And you're like, you can call her pot, you can say pot kettle. It's very funny.
It's adorable. After PB, I headed over to Lexi, and she feels like she did her job, and she's very funny. I chose the option of being like, "There's one thing left to say. Thank you, Lexi." And she goes, "Well, that did it. You're a jerk." And she starts crying. And I'm just like, yes, I made Lexi cry.
Yeah, there's clearly a theme of pride with Lexi. I took the option that, like, she's like, what am I going to do, scold you? And you're like, I'll remember that the next time I come back full of holes. Like, you can kind of tease her, essentially, for, like, always giving you a lecture. She's like, I'm still going to lecture you when you come back injured because you're an idiot, effectively. I'm paraphrasing, but I love the dynamics of Lexi as a character. She seemed kind of one note in the beginning, but I love the dynamic you learn about her as the crew evolves and as you get to spend more time with her.
Who did I see next? I saw Gil next.
He's excited to be a dad, in
Oh
my
my God,
case.
he's already ready to be a dad
Yeah.
with his stupid pun names.
Oh my God, Mara or Dion.
Mary or Dion? I can't get it. Meridian? No, absolutely not. Please talk to Jill
Please stop.
because Jill will not allow you to do this.
Also, he's talking about how since everyone's disembarked and the Tempest is evacuated, he's like, this would be a great time to just take it. You know, Cal will never even notice. He's like, who's gonna fly it? You. He's like, yeah, I'm a quick study. It'll be fine. Uh-huh.
Yep. We got Suvi. She's so excited about this joint research body that she's making. She's planning a party, living her best life.
Yep. You say you wouldn't miss it for the world. I love that they use any excuse to have her bring up scotch and
Hmm.
whiskey and like, you know, yes, we get it. We can hear the accent, but thank you for reaffirming it with the choice of beverage.
Yep. On my way to my next person, I ran into some second wave operations people,
I spoke to
Eora
them as well.
Pillay, Darla Voss Hyperion, and Hunter Carey. I think they're so cool, and I want Darla's backstory like ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm guessing she was there to be part of the Quarian arc story. Maybe, maybe not, but like obviously she has a Quarian name as a human, and that's always really fascinating.
Her godparents were Korean.
Right. And so like you can ask a little bit about that stuff, but like I want to know about this team. I want to know if they like we're gonna have side missions or whatever. Like they seem like a cool crew.
Yeah, I hope they show up in the next game.
Yeah.
There is a memorial. We turned our backs upon a dwindling star to chase a dawn beyond our childhood's end.
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic. Pop over to talk about Cora, who also asked about your sibling and mentioned how there will be two writers around soon.
Yeah.
Apparently, she helped organize a bunch of things for Meridian. She's so sweet and she's such a good leader. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that she's coming into her own.
She's also still a giant dork, and I get to have a moment to like thank her for staying by my side and talk
Aww,
about like the future we're going to spend together. I don't know about for when you talk to Jal, but
gay.
yeah, very gay. But the problem is here is like it's a moment, it's a chat moment, and then you move on. And I get that like they had to they had to insert for all of the relationships a small moment here, but it just feels very sterile for me. Like it's sweet, but it feels very video gamey. Like, oh yeah, you had a relationship with this person, so you need a little sweet thing that you can say here. Moving on, but that's kind of the rub of this whole game is like it feels very in moments video gamey in how it was created and how it was made and how certain things aren't fleshed out. And so it's not really an issue here. It's just something I took note of.
Yeah. I have the quote to Better Tomorrows, but I don't know why I wrote that down.
Yeah, I don't
Did
know
Cora
either.
say that?
Maybe I don't remember.
Maybe Cora said that. Liam is so hype.
Yep.
He definitely cried.
Yep. And he also asks about the health of. He's the only one of your crew who asks specifically about how your sibling is doing.
Well, Cora asked.
Well, Cora asked also, but that was it.
I took note whenever somebody asked, so it wasn't just Liam. Um, Cora also asked. But yeah, Liam finally feels like he's home.
Yep. Like he was meant to be here and he's meant to do this work.
Yeah. And we get over to Vetra, who's talking with Sid, and they're being all sisterly and cute, and
They're
Sid
bickering.
sassing Vetra.
Yep.
So adorable.
It's very sweet. And like I believe Vetra takes a moment to blame you for this. That the reason they're like this is because of you, that you brought them together, which is really sweet. It seems like they've really found their footing as siblings.
Yeah. Over to Drac. I like how they interact. Kid, old man.
Very good.
And then Ryder quotes back something that Drac said. It's just another starting line. Where we go from here is on us. And he gets a little emotional about that. Like, you were listening.
Yep. And then you can talk about how this is the next big adventure. And he's like, he has that fatherly, like, all right, but we have to be careful, but also it's going to be great.
Yeah. I love my space grandpa.
He's great.
And then there is Jal.
Mm-hmm.
My moment with Jal is him making me blush. and we talk about how we created this moment together. He says, "Darling, one day we'll have a place of our own, and I'll hold you close, looking out over a beautiful world, one we created."
Yeah, it, he's very sweet.
Yes.
The whole tenor of his conversation is about being kind of grateful and the limitless respect that the Angaran people have for Ryder and how he did things. You get to make a joke about how dramatic your arrival was, and that he's glad
Oh,
that his
yeah.
people could see past it because we landed in sudden distress and on fire.
That was it for your squad, but there's one other person that you can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Spec Rin Gi. G? Gi?
Either
Whatever.
or, I've heard it both ways.
They share with us word from the Quarian Ark. There is a staticky message telling us that the situation is not contained and to stay away from the Ark.
Yep. And then Ryder goes, well, unfortunately, because they're warning us off, all we can do is wait. Womp
Yes.
womp.
But if you would like to know what happened to the Quarian Ark, now is the time that I recommend Kat Valenti's book, Annihilation. It is so good. You get all these characters who are races that we don't spend a lot of time with in any of the Mass Effect games, like Elcor Quarian, Hanar, Volus, Drell, Batarian. Like, there is a Batarian protagonist. It's so cool. There are lesbians. There's dramatic Elcor. There's Hanar who don't understand what a dead name is.
Uh,
It's very funny and very good. Um, if you are into audiobooks, I recommend the audiobook. It's narrated by Tom Taylorson of Scott Ryder fame. It's just, he does it so well and he does all the voices really well. Yeah, I want to throw that out there. The story is so compelling.
yep.
What happens on the Quarian arc is just so good.
Yeah, I wish there was DLC. I'm not
I
big on.
know.
I'm a slow reader, so it's hard for me to dive into a book. Maybe I'll check out the audiobook at some point, but like, it's not my preferred form of entertainment, and so,
Yeah.
but it's a bummer that story. Like, I'm glad that the story got told somehow, but
Hmm.
it's a bummer that we never got the DLC because of the poor reception of the game.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, this book is really good. You should definitely pick up the audiobook. It's incredible.
I will look into that.
Yeah, I just wanted to boast about that again.
Sure, of course. And so after all of these party check-ins and a little like story snippets, we can head back towards the Tempest, and that's when we get our final check-in. We're greeted by the other surviving Pathfinders that we have interacted with throughout the whole game.
Yeah, that was a really sweet moment. I chose to say I don't believe in endings because Hager is talking about how like nothing in the Pathfinder handbook talks about how to honor a colleague, and like you have all these people to support you and you did an incredible thing. I like Hager. I think he's a good choice for Pathfinder. Even though Reika was also incredible. I think if we can't have Reika, then Hager is a good choice.
Yep. I also like that you can take this moment here to like give a little bit of a speech and be like talk about how we're explorers and this is like we're going to go back out there because that's what we're here to do, that's what we came here to do, and we haven't been able to, and so now we can really go see the stars and find new things. And it's a very Star Trek moment within this very Star Trek game.
Yeah. Back on the Tempest, everybody comes to the bridge.
Yep,
And did you hit 100% viability?
I did. And so we get a message from Sam saying to come to the VidCon.
Yeah. So we get directed that we have to return to Habitat 7 for some strange reason.
Yep. Sam asks us to head back to Habitat 7. And when you ask why, he's like, I've been told not to share that information about the mission. So when my AI, who's in my head and knows everything, tells me he can't tell me a thing, it makes me a little nervous.
Just a little bit. But it turns out to be for a really good reason. Sam says that the world is waiting, and we are back at Habitat 7 to find out that the world is being terraformed with initiative technology. The channel is open across Helios, and we find out that Habitat 7 is now renamed Rider 1, and you can hear everyone across Helios cheering.
Yep.
And that moment gave me such goosebumps.
It's very cool. And like, it's cool. Like Callow's like, yeah, we can't settle this how we have the other worlds, but we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Never leave a planet behind.
Yep. And it's just really neat. He gets a planet named after him. They get a planet named after them, which is really neat.
Yeah. Let's see some other things that we can wrap up.
We wrap up the Carrie storyline finally. We can talk to
Yes.
Carrie about Meridian, and you can choose to either. She wants to know how you want to share that information with the people of Helios. Do you want to tell them the truth or just kind of rally rah rah? And I chose to share the truth because I think that's more important for them to know what's really happening. And then she thanks you. It's. I felt like it was a little anticlimactic because it kind of just ends. But
yeah, agree.
Like I would have loved to seen like clips of like it should have cut away to like them watching clips of the documentary or like some of the interviews. Like that would have been fun. But
alas. After that, we have a clutch moment where we walk in on Harry talking to Kesh and Drac.
Yep,
and
Drac
we find out.
I was to say Drac has asked us to come back to the Nexus. We just left, but fine.
But we find out that Kesh has a secret.
Yes, I wrote in all caps, Kroglitz.
Kroglitz, baby Krogan.
They don't
all
let us
of
see
her
the
children
eggs though.
Survived.
Yep. All of her children survived, and strange that her partner's not there, just her and her grandpa.
Working.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, we get...
Vorn has a job to do.
But yeah, I love that it's Harry also here with them. It's just a very sweet moment. But yeah, and that you as Ryder could say, oh, does that make me the godparent? And Kesh is like, well, you and several others, because we're going to need a lot of hands.
We're going to need a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cute. It makes me very happy. Yeah, all of her children are alive in the egg. And Drac is so excited to be a grandpa.
So excited.
And our final thing is closing out Ryder family secrets.
Yep.
Once we have all of our memories from across Andromeda, we can go to the Sam node, get the last memory, where we see our father talking with Castus Vicarian, Garrus Vicarian's father, who confirms that there is some fuckery about.
Of course there is.
They talk about the Reapers, and then we get confirmation that Ellen Ryder is not dead.
She is alive and in cryo under another name on the Hyperion.
So we head over to cryo. We have Scott and Sarah, or Matt and Frankie, in this case, find Ellen's stasis pod, but we can't wake her up yet.
Yep, she still has a deadly disease, but Sam is confident that there may be a cure that we can find out here, that she has a better chance of survival out here in this new place.
And that's it for me. Do you have any other things that you had to wrap up?
No, I mean, the only other conversation I had is when you're on the ship, if Suvi says that she wants to talk to you, and when you do, you have a follow-up conversation about faith and how seeing the creation of the Angaran. And this might have been something that I could have done sooner, but it felt fitting for this last PlayStation. She talks about how the Angaran were created, and what if God is more of a scientist? What if the Almighty is more of this creator and a mortal, and not this high and mighty being? But you can reassure her, which I did, that you faith is faith. It doesn't matter what happens and what's going to happen. If you have faith and you believe, you shouldn't let that change just as you learn more. You should continue to believe what you want to believe, as long as it doesn't interfere with your ability to do what you're doing. And you have this like sweet heart to heart where you reaffirm her faith, and she thanks you for always believing in her. It was a really sweet moment.
Yeah. Suvi's great and I love her. I also had a conversation with Lexi where she says that she was offered a position on the Nexus because of her specialty in xenobiology.
Mm-hmm.
And when the writer's like, oh, okay, I guess you're leaving, she's like, no other doctor would take you, so I have to stay.
She makes a good point.
Yeah, I love her. She's great.
She is. Definitely one of the best crews in a sci-fi game, for sure.
Yeah. And that is the end of Andromeda.
That's it. We did it. We finished the final Mass Effect game until there's a new one.
Yeah, for sure.
before we start to wrap up and give our final thoughts, I just want to say this is not the end of our coverage of Mass Effect, of course. Like, when the new game comes out, whenever that is, 30 years from now, we will, of course, cover it. We probably won't cover it as soon as it comes out. I felt that playing through a game, kind of not knowing what I was doing, made it A, harder for planning because a lot of it fell on Frankie, and B,
Yeah.
harder for me because I didn't quite know where to stop. So whenever that next Mass Effect game comes out, we will likely play it when it comes out and then return to it at a scheduled time so we can both have had experience with it before playing it for the show. Not to say that we won't play something for the first time on the show ever again. We may, it depends, but it was just hard with a game of this size. And then the other thing is, I know that there's a lot of other Mass Effect materials. There are comics, there are books, there's a movie. We are interested in covering that stuff, but I'm not quite sure how. I have teased with Case often about bringing that animated James Vega film onto another pass, since it's notoriously not great. And also, I think it would be fun for Sam, who has no Mass Effect experience, to try and engage with the movie just as a movie. So that's a possibility. You know, the comics and stuff also, I haven't read enough of them that I feel confident talking about it. But I think if Frankie and I could ever get a guest who is confident in all of that and knows that really well, we could talk to them about it. You know, there will be other opportunities for Mass Effect coverage, but we will be, and we'll talk more about this in a minute, moving on to a new franchise, for the time being at least. But again, it's not going to be far from our minds, as at the core, this is a Mass Effect podcast. Even as it grows, it started that way.
Yeah.
So I guess before we get to my final thoughts, let's start with yours, Frankie. I'm curious, now having replayed it for the nth time, because you've played it so many times, did this playthrough, like our playthrough of the trilogy, feel different because of the way we put ourselves into the characters?
Honestly, I don't think that it did.
Yeah.
I love this game. That doesn't change. There are definitely things that are in need of criticism and things that could have been better.
Yep.
But overall, my game experience is still so enjoyable. I still love these characters so much. I love the way that Ryder interacts with the world. I love the way that some missions were executed. And I think the way that we played it probably wasn't the best way to do it, unfortunately. It was the best way to do it for the podcast, but not the way to do it to like really enjoy the world. But unfortunately, there was only so much that I could do about that when planning out our experience. It needed to be done in a way that was linear, and I think that this is just not a linear game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's something we will struggle to do, I think, with a lot of games as we go forward, because nothing is quite as segmented as the Mass Effect trilogy was in a digestible way that was easy to kind of map out. This game is interesting. So I don't remember who it was, but someone had asked either on the Discord or on Twitter if I'm going to immediately replay this game after finishing it. And I think the answer is no. Not because I didn't like the game. I think I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think the problem is it's just too bloated. Like, if I played a streamlined playthrough where I ignore a lot of the side missions, I might be able to get through it pretty quick. But that's kind of the antithesis to the way this game was built. So I don't know that I'll jump right back into it immediately. I won't say I'll never play it again. I do enjoy it. I think what's going to get me to play it again is find out how it's connected to Mass Effect 5. I think the thing that gets me replaying the trilogy is that it's a complete story. Yes, it's a little open-ended at the end of 3, the possibility of Shepard's survival, blah, 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 right? But the reality, and that everyone else lives on whether Shepard does or not. But it feels like a complete story. Whether you love or hate the ending, it does feel like it comes to an end. And so replaying the trilogy, I have something to look forward to mostly as I go through the whole arc. Whereas with, Andromeda, it's one game, and I like the story, but the story in this game isn't enough to get me to replay it. Its effect on the future of the franchise, I think, is what would get me to come back to it. And I think when we get more details on Mass Effect 5 and how this connects, if there are some direct links narratively, that would be more exciting for me to want to replay it. I like this game. To kind of start getting into my final thoughts, I think it is a good game. It is not as good as the original trilogy. I think there are some things that it does better than the original trilogy, like the individual character arcs, the writing in individual moments, I think, are sometimes better than the original trilogy. And I think that the crew feels more organic in moments, because you're this kind of clown car of inexperienced people. But I think ultimately what the strength that the trilogy will always have over this game is A, it's the trilogy. I'd been playing it longer and playing it more. And B, as much as I like Ryder as a character, and I actually think he's a pretty fun character, there's a charisma about Shepard that you can't recreate. And I think part of that is Mark Meer and Jennifer Hale for sure. But I think part of it is just when I played that game, how I played it, how often I played it. I could probably find more love for Scott Ryder or Sarah Ryder as I play more. I do want to do a playthrough of Sarah Ryder at some point just to see the other side. It's more spend more time with that voice actress. But there's no ignoring the glaring issues with this game. And we found some technical issues still in the original trilogy because we didn't play the remasters. We played the originals for the podcast. But like there are still a ton of glitches in it in Andromeda, that haven't been patched out, falling through the floor, models flipping out, pop in, conversations where the characters are still moving while you're trying to talk to them, things like that. It's fine. It was a lot more broken I had heard when it first came out. It's definitely beyond playable, and it can be a fun experience. I think the combat in this game and traversal is the best this franchise has ever seen. I think that the powers you use have less impact or feel like they have less impact. There's something kind of visceral about the third-person nature of Shepard's combat in especially the third game. But ultimately, I think that the customization of the combat in this game is something that I would love to see come back in Mass Effect 5 because I think it was kind of the best that system has to offer as it has evolved. I like the separate classes, but there's something about being able to switch your class on the fly and kind of really customize it so you're not just a tech or a biotic or a mix of just the two or just an assault. Like you can kind of really mix and match other than choosing an archetype and sticking to it. But ultimately, I like the game. I think it's a good game. I think it's not a great game. I think my favorite Mass Effect game is still either 2 or 3. It depends on the day and what side of the bed I wake up on, whether it's 2 or 3. But I think that this is definitely more solid than people give it credit for. And I think if you've listened to this podcast and for some reason not played it and just came along for the ride, please play it. I think it's definitely worth your time if you're a Mass Effect fan. I think it has a lot to offer, even though it does fall short in some of the places that it could have done better. It is not a bad game by any means. People who wrote it off as a bad game, I think, don't have patience, which is fair, right? Like, our time is precious. If I don't gel with a game when I'm playing it now as a grown-ass man, or grown-ass they, not a man, I drop it. I don't push myself to finish a game unless I have a reason to do it. And so I get wanting to respect your own time that way. But that said, if you have the time and you've been holding off on playing this game still to this moment, definitely give it a shot. I think it is still worth your time, especially if you are a Mass Effect fan. I'll give it a solid B+, maybe B, with some A+ character moments for sure.
Yeah. Honestly, I think if when you replay, your feeling about it will improve.
Yeah.
Because you'll be able to play it with like at your own pace and like in the order that you want to play it instead of trying to adhere to the schedule that I imposed upon you.
Yeah, that's probably true also. I think that like even when we replayed the trilogy for the podcast, it was, stuttered in the same way, and just playing a game that way is tough. I do think that it can be a benefit, but I think because I also didn't know where the story was going and what we were doing, it was even harder, right? At least with the trilogy, when we had stopping points, I knew what was coming next. I had the games practically memorized, except for the third one, which I'd played the least. And so, like, I think those experiences can work, but this is... when playing a game for the podcast, it's less about the enjoyment of the game and more about understanding the game and discussing the game, which is not always the same thing as having fun playing it. It can be, but it isn't always. Any other final thoughts on Mass Effect Andromeda?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I love the game. That doesn't change. And I love Jal.
Also, that will never change.
It will never, ever change.
Jal and Garrus.
And Vetra and Tali.
Yes, I know, and so on and so forth. I think Yeah, I don't know. I think I just don't have this drive to go back to this game. Also, I get in a mood like, people who've been following me on Twitter know I've been replaying Control, and I'm going to replay Alan Wake, and I'm really interested in Remedy's world building. And like, I think when it comes to games that are narratively driven, I have to be in the right headspace to replay them. And so I can see myself coming back to Andromeda. I could see myself maybe streaming Andromeda if I have the free time to do so. Something like that could be fun. But I think for now, I'm going to let that game rest until we hear more details on where this franchise is headed. And yeah, I never thought I would hate it. I didn't really think it was possible. I have loved some much worse games than this, because at the end of the day, it's about the fun you have with it, not the quality of the product, with some exceptions. So I can safely say I will probably go back to this at some point. I cannot tell you where or when. Other than for sure confidently if it ties in definitively to Mass Effect 5. Or, you can make Mass Effect 5 about something completely different and not involve any of the games or make a whole new franchise maybe. BioWare, there's that too. But, who knows?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know. Sequels are where it's at and continuing. Look, I love the Mass Effect universe. Of course, I want another game in this universe, but I've come around to the Ken Shepard way of thinking of like, I'm very nervous about what they do because they could ruin a lot of canon or ruin a lot of, not ruin because those experiences will still exist, but like make it harder to engage with depending on the choices they make, because Mass Effect, even more so than other franchises, is so tied into the choices you make from game to game that if the fifth game tries to satisfy every result of the previous games, it just feels like it's going to be really messy. But we'll see. Who knows?
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
A lot.
The shadow knows.
There's a lot of evil in the hearts of men because men suck, kind of broadly. Anyway.
Wow.
So that's it. We're at the end. Nothing else to talk about. No, I'm kidding. So we've reached the end of...
You're fired.
Yeah, you can't fire me. You're not going to do this all by yourself.
I don't know. I can make new friends.
Can you?
I don't know. I've been trying.
I believe
it's hard.
In you. It is. Ugh, making friends as an adult is so difficult.
So hard. Anyway.
So, yeah, we are done with season 4, more or less. We may have a few other things to wrap up the season coming at you, but it is time to announce where we're headed for season 5. And of course, predictably, where we're heading for the foreseeable future is the Dragon Age franchise, surprising literally not a single person listening right now.
Yeah, you have teased it so much.
Yeah.
That at this point, it's not so much an announcement as it is a reminder.
Yeah. Folks, gear up. Get those Dragon Age games reinstalled. We're going to be going through Thedas together.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I'm excited. Matt, what is your Dragon Age experience?
So I had played the first Dragon Age game I had ever played was the original Origins on the Xbox, and I hated it. It was not good with a controller. Not easy, rather, to play with a controller. And so I abandoned the franchise for a long time. And then when Inquisition came out, or not when Inquisition came out, when I got a PS4 as a wedding present, Inquisition was a game gifted to me by my friend Beth to play because she really loved that game. And so I played it, got most of the way through it, got pretty far, and then got overwhelmed by all the choice and never finished it. And then a few years ago, I think it was either at the early start of the pandemic or maybe during, I had a ton of free time on my hands and I started streaming and started playing games online. And so I revisited the Dragon Age franchise, played Dragon Age Origins and Awakening on PC, where mouse and keyboard was way more conducive for that control scheme, and ended up enjoying it and beating it, then jumping into Dragon Age 2, where the keyboard and mouse control scheme was not good for that game, but still made my way through it and enjoyed it, and then finally jumped back into Inquisition, seeing it through to the end while streaming it. Actually, I think that order is reversed. I think I finished Inquisition on stream, really liked it, and then finally went back and played the rest of the franchise because of how much I liked Inquisition.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I think that's how, because I was streaming Inquisition. It's kind of how I started to Twitch stream more regularly again. And my love of Inquisition made me play the rest of the franchise again, but the other facts still follow suit as truth. And I like the franchise as a whole. I think it's much messier than the Mass Effect franchise. I love that you are not the same main character more than once. I think if they had done that again, did Shepard 2.0 or however you want to look at it, for Dragon Age, it wouldn't have worked as well. Yeah, I think ultimately I'm excited to jump into the Dragon Age franchise. I like what I've played, and I've only played through the whole thing once. I have many failed attempts at Inquisition. I think I've made 4 different characters.
Yeah, same.
Because the hinterlands, the fucking hinterlands.
The hinterlands, they get you every time.
But I am excited to jump into it. You would play these games much earlier than I have, haven't you?
Yes. Yes. I got into Dragon Age way back when we were dating, actually. Like that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. So you played it for the first time on my 360.
Yes. I don't remember what years the games came out, but I do remember one of our friends giving me a gift card so that way I could get DLC for Dragon Age. And I don't remember all of it. But I enjoyed Origins, loved 2, and grew to love Inquisition. Inquisition took a lot for me to get into because of the hinterlands, as we said, because we're completionist people. You give us a section to play through, we want to do all the things in the section, but parts of the section are level locked. So like you can't clear something until you're a certain level. But I don't understand that because I'm stupid and I just want to clear it.
Yeah, I think that coming to that game now with all of the knowledge I have of playing a lot more RPGs and a lot more games like Inquisition will make the playthrough for the podcast easier, if not still a pain in the ass just how we break it up, but at least my understanding of the game will be better.
Yeah. I'm sorry. BioWare sent me an email while we're talking, and it is the Garrus Vicarian Tiki mug that I am missing from my collection.
Well, there you go.
They're selling it. There's no point in me buying it, though, because these Tiki mugs are not coming back to Ireland with me. But it's missing from my collection. Excuse me while I message this to my husband.
You buy this, so I have it. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, the Dragon Age series is a dark series.
Yes.
Like, you think Mass Effect is dark?
Yeah.
Dragon Age is rough.
Yeah.
That's some rough shit.
Yeah, especially the first game. You can miss whole characters in the first game. The story really diverges in the Dragon Age games in a way that the Mass Effect games, like, you're kind of on several rails. You know, there are diverse choices in moments in Mass Effect, but in Dragon Age, like especially 1 and 3, like we haven't even talked about the DLC for 1, which is practically a whole other game.
Yeah.
Dragon Age Awakening. For the record, likely the structure will be Dragon Age Origins as a season, Dragon Age Awakening as a season since it's so long, then Dragon Age 2, and then Inquisition. But Inquisition's really long too, and the DLC, the story reliable DLC, like all of the stuff that you do towards the tail end of the game that reveals everything, is also very long. So we'll see. Like, and we're in it for the long haul. There's of course Dragon Age Dreadwolf on the horizon. Kind of hoping that we can kind of careen these next few seasons directly into Dreadwolf and then come back to Mass Effect, but we'll see. People have asked, are you ever going to do anything but BioWare games? Who knows? We were in it for at least another 10 years, so we'll see.
BioWare's going to keep putting out games, so probably not.
Yeah. And we have toyed with the idea of other BioWare franchises or even non-BioWare franchises. But I think the thing here, Dragon Age is the easy choice because it follows in a similar path to Mass Effect, but also, like, it's always going to be about choice. We want to play games with choices where, if we can, put ourselves into the character, even if the character doesn't exactly look or sound like us. More or less, we want to be able to make choices that we personally would make in those games to the best of our ability. And so there are lots of other games that involve that. And before you ask, no, we will never do Skyrim. Too big. Sorry. Absolutely not. We did a DLC for y'all. That's enough.
Now we have to spend the next couple of weeks doing some soul searching and trying to figure out am I more of a city elf? Am I an outcast dwarf?
Yeah.
Am I a circle of magi?
Yeah, I feel like the class I play is going to really be driven by what haven't I played for a long period of time in the Dragon Age franchise already. Because I don't have a favorite. I mean, that's not true. My favorite class is a sword and shield warrior because I don't die, but I don't want to do that again, so we'll see.
You basic.
I am. Thank you. But yeah, so that's it. We rolling into that information. Of course, we're going to wrap up the show here. We're going to take a small break while we set up for the next season. We have to plan the calendar. We want to start bringing guests back on again. There are a lot of folks I know who reached out to me who are like, I like Mass Effect, but I love Dragon Age. I want to come back. So you'll see some familiar faces, some new faces for sure. Likely we will be back in full swing in February, but we will keep you posted along the way, and we promise we're not going anywhere. We also are planning more Blasto shenanigans. Our favorite DM, the one and only John Bradley Lestrange, will be DMing again. More on that as we have info, but keep an eye on the feed. We would like to have that follow this, but it's going to depend on just prep and editing and all of that, because we want to give you the high quality production we've always given for those Blasto episodes. But I will return as the titular Blasto sooner than you think.
You said his name wrong.
I did not. It's Blasto.
No, there's two Bradleys.
Oh, right. He's John Bradley. Bradley is strange.
Yes. Get it right.
Look, too many Bradleys, all right? Knock it off. It's too much.
So if you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, facebook.com/reignitepod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at FrankieBWrites and Matt at DJ_Stormageddon. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher if you can. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're also members of the Certain Point of View podcast network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server and join in the conversation. I do want to say here that probably not long after this episode airs, we will probably sunset and archive the Andromeda channel. I did read the entire backlog. It took me a while, but there were some fun things. I didn't know that Frankie was snooping the art that they made for me of us in there and like getting opinions from folks, and shared lots of stuff that then became revealed to me, which is pretty fun. Sorry for everyone who literally guessed I would pick Jal and didn't. I guess that the joke's on you. But yeah, we're going to sunset that channel in favor of maybe a more general BioWare channel. We'll see. There will always be talk of video games on the Discord, of course, between us and Fun and Games, but that Andromeda channel won't be necessary anymore because I know about Andromeda now.
It's true. Personal plugs. I've got nothing. I am still a PhD researcher. All of my time goes into writing, reading, and researching in some variety thereof. If you want to buy me a coffee or something, you can Venmo me $5. My Venmo is at FrankieBrad is hella rad. That's it.
And I, of course, am still doing all the different things that I am doing. You can go to my website, which is really just a link tree, which is www.djstormageddon.com. All the podcasts I work on there, my merch page, my Ko-fi, if you want to buy me a coffee, all that stuff. In the coming weeks, I will be working on some Game of the Year wrap-up stuff that you will see over on Fun and Games. I will probably bring up Andromeda a little, but mostly it's going to be talking about my top games of the year, my number one, and all that stuff. So if you want a more video game conversation while you wait for us to come back from our tiny little break, you can go over to Fun and Games Pod. Let's thank the folks who do all the other cool stuff for us.
Yeah. We'd like to thank Red Spinks for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble featuring our favorite marshmallow, Caden Alenko. You can find more of his work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
Conversation to have. Who is the Dragon Age marshmallow? Who is that?
I don't think there is any marshmallows
in Dragon
Age. I don't
Age,
think there's any marshmallows in Dragon Age.
I mean, Alistair maybe in the beginning, but then he
Alistair's kind of the only one, isn't he?
Yeah, especially in the first game.
He's just such a golden retriever.
He really is.
Anyway.
We'd also like to thank Carter's husband for developing more amazing shirt designs that you can find through certainpov.com or on Certain POV's Teespring.
We'd like to thank David Boyle for redesigning our logo like a champ. And finally, thank you to JT Music and Andrea Storm Caden for our new theme music. I'm Frankie.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon. Good luck, Pathfinders.
place that ain't the safest. How could I think space was vacant? Take a look around at the trails I'm blazing. A galactic scale invasion, looking for the home to stake or claiming. Get in my way, I'll take my aim and make your face an alien pavement. This train has left its station, now I'll take these rails and break them. Dust off the sails and race them. We may be way past saving, so if you got prayers, say them. It's a Hail Mary play we're making. My people need no shepherd to keep their faith from shaking. Even though I see no halos, still feels like I'm reclaiming.
I'll always be by your side. When the chips are down, we'll survive. Now that my path is finally found, this arc will never go down.
I'm bored of sleep, better wake me up, there's more to see. I'm pushing off from shore to sea, and drum it all what you got in store for me, ha. And I don't need Normandy, when my temp is ready, I'll storm the beach. Need a pathfinder, just ask Ryder. Rewards of war, I'm straight.
Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home. Just like a prayer, your voice can take me there, and where you're taking me remains a mystery. Just like a dream, you won't know what you see. We're not alone, I trust in you to take me home. Take me
Stranded, left for dead. Get a grip, then catch my breath. Now that my quest is set, I can unravel whatever the remnant left. Unlock these ancient vaults on every planet I resurrect. Impacting gravity, I guess I'm having that mass effect. Environmental check. Haven't ever used this weapon yet. Ha! Caught up in a mess I can't. I could've swept them up instead of left them wrecked. With the nexus depending on me, better lock and load and then wreck my jets. Never test my intelligence, I've got same to keep me at a level head. Any more cybernetic integration, then I'll be one step from death. Voices I can't erase, memories that I can't forget. Lost and lost on outer space, let's test out this remnant tech. Every species in this race is desperate for new habitat. Tendencies I must embrace as a leader that I was never elected. Let's go! I'm the kind of guy to control both fire and ice, and I'm bold like a lightning strike, cause I'm close enough to be not divine. And I'll show my word, cause I'm on the verge of purging virgin worlds of the cursed scourge. And I'll leave these verses murdered, worth and rebirthed at birth.
Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home. Just like a prayer, your voice can take me there, and where you're taking me remains a mystery. Just like a dream, you won't know what you see. We're not alone, I trust in you to take me. You're part of something greater. It won't control us. A cosmic fate awaits you, but that won't hold us. Thundering clouds of chaos hang onto my shoulders. Will manifest from stardust like supernova.
Normally I'm not nomadic, but I needed a change of scenery. Hospitality seems sporadic, and I'm far from earthly greenery. Time to plant my flag and planets, and my land shan't be seen for me. Even when I'm stranded empty-handed, I can harness dark energy deep in me. Call me anomaly, one of a kind. Follow my calling with all that I find. God as a colony starting alive, unlocking vaults one at a time. Milky Way, got border, then Andromeda, walk along the borders. I'm exploring every corner for the resources I've been wanting more of. If you know my name, you better say your prayers. Get down on your knees and beg your life be spared. Call me Madonna, cause I'm paving the way. You should be honored that you're walking on the trail that I blazed.
Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home. Just like a prayer, your voice can take me there, and where you're taking me remains a mystery. Just like a dream, you won't know what you
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun, whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, aka Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.